And the 5 red lights soon will come on, and this could be anything. Fasten your seatbelts, everyone. We are about to be in for a bumpy ride for 35 laps of the Canadian Grand Prix. And the 5 red lights now come on ahead of the drivers here. And they are off, and we are underway, and it looks like Mitzi's got a good start. There's a lot of wheel spin for the Red Bull, but he has the inside line, and he is ahead. And a race roller is ahead of Bez. They're all 3 wide, 4 wide in the background. There's all like a car park at the moment, as the Ferrari of Zydrad is all over the curb, and the background as Beast and Crispy go side by side down towards turn 3 and 4. Who's going to come out on top? They're still side by side, and it is very close, and they're still going side by side through the first sector and come out on top in the end. Zydrad gets ahead of Jib Jab, and there's Paraquix down the inside, hits his teammate, and that's going to slow him down. And here comes Zydrad again. Watch out for Zydrad in the Ferrari. He's made an absolutely flying start, and he's already fighting Beast for 7th place, and he's up into 7th place down the inside. Can he make it there? Make it stick? He can. Oh, he has to go across the curb, so he might lose time to Beast in the end. But as we go back on board with the front, Mitzi is harrying Dylan still and trying to get a good exit out of the hairpin.
Yes, I mean, Beast had a really, really good launch, but then unfortunately kind of got out of sorts, and then that just meant he had basically no momentum from that battling, and all of a sudden Beast just fell backwards again and is all the way down in P10 as Ham's overtaken him now. But yeah, the start between the top 2, slightly more even than I thought it'd be, and Dylan has staved off that initial threat from Midzi 15, so...
Oh, we have a Alfie going across the chicane.
And we have
Zydrad, overtake.
Zydrad, the wet weather, the self-proclaimed wet weather merchant, is showing some brilliant pace in the wet so far. He's gained another position, and well, he looks one of the quickest drivers out on track at the moment. Absolutely flying.
And Bez has just been detached a little bit, and Race Roller is a little bit on his own, as Mitzi really tried all he could to get ahead of Dylan. As we have YOLO Gamer off.
And Bunny's AI went straight into him, so that's wonderful.
I think Bunny's back in now. By the looks of it.
Oh yeah, Bunny's message saying he knows, he's like, I just know I'm going to have damage when I come back in, and well, I mean, if he didn't have damage when he got back in, he certainly has damage now as he's spun off into the wall as well. And oh, I don't know whether that looks like he's got some issues with his wheel or something, because it looks like he can barely keep it out of the wall as well, this Bunny. And yeah, really unfortunate stuff. And yeah.
Well, I'm going to keep on board with Zydrad here, because we might be seeing another move fairly soon. But Dylan sets the fastest lap out front, as YOLO Gamer picks up a 3-second time penalty for his troubles. And that is very early on, as Bunny picks up a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and that usually follows with a retired from session message at the bottom, and it has.
Yeah,
so
it's unfortunate stuff. Very unfortunate stuff for Bunny. He was looking pretty strong, but unfortunately, luck was just not on his side, and he's had to retire.
Yeah. Jam, there's a bit of chat action. Massey says, let's go Mincy and Bez, I'm sure Sem will echo that. Bez is losing out to Race Roller on the start and has dropped back, but on his own at the moment. And it looks like Mincy is going to try again down towards the chicane. Is he going to... It's just too far back, and Dylan can just use his ERS to stay ahead. Gets a fairly decent run, actually, out of the final chicane, and now...
But Mincy gets a better one.
Make Dylan go defensive. Oh, just parks his car right in the middle of the circuit, which is pretty much perfect for Dylan. You can see Mitzi's just pushing him out of turn 2. And can Mitzi get a better exit? He's sticking his nose in up the inside. They're going to go side by side through turns 3 and 4.
A little bit of contact.
Oh, this is so side by side. Mitzi's getting his elbows out. Now into the end of the first sector, into turns 6 and 7. Still more contact, and Dylan's round. Oh, he's managed to save it. But Race Roller's going to maybe overtake him now, and there's been a bit of contact, wheel to wheel contact, and the game's giving me a poor camera angle, but Dylan has now dropped down to third, and here comes Bezzers having a look, but no, Mitzi has muscled his way past Dylan, and it's fair racing in the end. A lot of respect shown, and in the end it is Mitzi who comes out on top, but Race Roller is directly behind him now, and I don't know if either of them sustained any damage in the course of that, but it got very, very close.
Indeed it did. I mean, they were kind of banging wheels all the way through the first 3-4 corners, and I think really there could be no complaints from either party about that one. I mean, they both kind of gave each other a little bit of the squeeze a couple of times, and in the end, Mitzi was the one that came out on top as the yellow flag in Sector 3. Unsure who that was, but it seems like whatever that was has passed.
Yeah. Everyone's getting very close. Yellow flag again, and that is Nikki. Yes, it is Nikki. And, well, we all know what's going to happen next. And he has retired from the session in the pit lane. Yeah, it doesn't seem like Nikki was in the right headspace for this race. As Dylan is now dropping off the back of his teammate. And the early progress from Zydrad and Ham has just stopped a little bit. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1 still for Nicky's car, but that should go away eventually once his car ends up retiring. But at the moment, not too much going on.
Indeed. Dylan at the moment, I think what this is now is he's kind of just showing how much more difficult the wet is with a little bit of spray in front of you, as we can't really see it too well from our cameras, but I think for the drivers themselves, in the wet on this game, there is a noticeable amount of spray from drivers ahead of you, and I can kind of just affect just general grip and everything. And Dylan, whilst being the lead car, was of course pulling away from Race Roller, but now behind him, he's, as you said, falling back, if anything. If you have a look at the gap, there is certainly no one's really been detached at the moment.
Well, Czech loses through chicane. He just dropped a couple of positions. Now he's going to drop another, as it looks like V2 is going to go down the inside if he can stay ahead. Oh, it's very close through turn 1. Czech just about stays ahead for now, as V2 has to stay behind in 15th. Briggs has also made a good start from 18th place, up 5 positions, up into P13 at the moment. So a few drivers making very good starts, but at the moment it is Midzi who leads. A lot of drivers under-fueled in these conditions, which I would expect, but I do know that Canada is still heavy on the fuel consumption in the dry.
Indeed, and we know this. And another thing we got to bear in mind is we know this rain's going to dry up. When is it going to dry up? As V2 tries to move on Czech, and they've been really respectful with each other. V2 could have easily trying to move into turn 1 on this lap, but has bided his time and has got past Czech. Czech gave him the room on the inside, and V2 said thank you very much and has claimed P14.
Yeah, well, it's still very close at the moment. Beast has the biggest gap in the top 10 at the moment, just getting detached, and Ghost Colt's going to have a look on him soon, you may think. But yeah, it looks like Beast might be struggling a touch at the moment, but he's still well in this race after dropping down a couple of positions on the start. I'm sure Beast will try and stay consistent and maybe fight back in this race. It just depends on when this rain stops and how far these drivers can take these intermediates. Will we see one stop on the intermediate tyres is really the question, as Zydrad is under pressure now from Para Quicks.
Yeah, Para, you got a very good exit through the second chicane, but couldn't really do anything to get close enough to try a proper move.
Oh, Ghost Colt's going late on the brakes, and he's stuck his nose in there, maybe where it wasn't needed, and it's spooked Beast a little bit. And now they're side by side on the exit of the hairpin. And down the back straight they go. Who's got more straight line speed? It looks like Beast has got a little bit more, but Ghost is going to have the inside line. Into the chicane they go, side by side. Oh, and Beast has to back out in the end. And he keeps the position, and he lets him go, but that means he's going to probably let his teammate go. Now down towards turn 1, side by side, and Beast has dropped another position, and then there's Riggs directly behind him, and this first part of the race has not gone well for Beast at all. As he almost loses the car, and now Riggs is going to look interested on the outside of turn 3, but has to stay behind for now. And he's got a great run as Beast is really struggling on his tyres, and is Riggs going to have a look down the inside? No, he stays behind for now, but he's really pushing Beast round, and it's not going well for the Haas driver.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit of a shame because, of course, he was fighting up there at the beginning of lap 1 for potentially as high as P5, but now look at that. Riggs has gone up the inside again, and Beast is forced to go off track yet again, and he loses yet more positions. It's gone from bad to even worse to absolutely horrendous for Beast as... Oh no, as he brakes too late and hits the back of V2. He might have got some damage from that as well.
Oh, there's a spinner off in the background, and Czech has gone into the wall on the exit of the hairpin. He may have got damage from that as well, but that was a slide off the track and into the wall. So a couple of off moments. Let's have a look at Arbon. I think Czech has come into the pit, so definitely has sustained damage. He's picked up a 5-second time penalty, and you know what follows after that? It is a retire from a session. Third driver out of this race early on. Not much going on at the front. Para again getting close, but not close enough to the back of Zydrad. And it's just still as we were really, Midzy out front. Just managing the pace. Owen said Beast was clipping and hit V2.
And I'll tell you something, if anything, it looks like the rain's getting a bit heavier here. I don't know whether you think that, but it looks like it's not light rain anymore. It looks like it's maybe even heavy rain, and...
Yeah, I see what you mean.
For any of these drivers are going to have to maybe switch to the wets here at some point. At the moment, there's not been too many spins, so maybe not.
No, the Inters do, as Bezos is in the pits. So Bezos pits. Is this for the
wets?
Stop?
Is this for the wets? Maybe it's
a bold choice at this point.
Ghost Colt has followed him in as well, and let's have a look at what tyres he's on.
It is the wets. It is the wets for Bezos.
I did think it was getting wetter. In the pits.
You have a good eye, Sam. I'll give you that one. You have a very good eye indeed. It's getting wetter within a sector. We have drivers in the pits, and we were not expecting this. But is it useful as he goes deep on the exit of the pits? Is it worth going into the wets? We'll have to wait and see, and keep a keen eye on Bezos' progress through these next couple of laps.
He's closed in so much time on Beast, I have to be honest. I think it might very well be time for the wets. I think Bezos might have been the first driver on the grid to have that call to go in for the wet tyres, and I mean,
is
if
it
didn't have
worth
Beast
it?
behind
Because
him,
if it's
then
going
it'd be absolutely flying. That is true as well.
Is it going to dry up again very soon? We'll wait and see, but
Midzy's got a very difficult decision though, whether to stay out or go in the pits for some wets. No, he does stay out, so they are going to try and ride this rain period out.
Let's have a look. More drivers going round. Zydrad picks up a 3-second time penalty. Crispy is starting to get detached as Jib Jab comes into the pit lane. And let's keep an eye on Jib Jab. Let's see if he goes as Jitto also into the pits. Can Bezos make a move on Beast? This would really help his progress as Alfie picks up a 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pits. And doesn't look like he will be
one was just an accident, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know at this point. So there's so many drivers are just retiring from the session. But yeah, it looks like Alfie will be carrying on the wets, and we'll wait and see. But Bezos really does need to make this move soon.
Indeed, he does. Beast, he's acting as a big roadblock here, and I mean, if Bezos. The difficulty here is Beast just needs to get good exits, and you'd think that he'd be getting poor exits on the intermediate tyres, but They are just about good enough at the moment.
Is he going to go for a lunge? Looks like he's going to go for
Does
it.
have a bit of a run.
Parks his car in the middle of the road. Goes around the outside. Is he going to have enough grip on the exit? No. But he might have a better exit being on the longer route round, as Alfie has left the session. So there's a bit of a double whammy here. But here comes Bezzers then. He's going to have the inside line down into the chicane.
Beast does elect to pit for those wet compound tyres, I can only assume.
This has kind of ruined him there. Had the inside line, but then Beast came into the pits. So we'll now see 5.8 is the gap, 5.9 is the gap, and rising to V2. But it's all about the rest of this lap. Can he gain?
Probably a good idea to put on gap to leader here, I think, Mercs, to see just whether Bezzers is quicker than his teammate or not.
It's about 18 seconds for a pit stop, I think, around here. Maybe a bit less than that. Or a bit more than that. I can't exactly remember. But that's in the dry, of course. Maybe a little bit longer in the wet. But yeah, so at the moment he would possibly come out ahead of Dylan, but it's hard to say depending on whether these drivers actually come into the pits or not. But at the moment it doesn't look like it was worth it.
Yeah, he's actually losing time, Bezzers, to Midzi, which then is credit to how good Midzi is in the wet, of course. To be able to do that well on older tyres, let alone tyres that are probably the slightly worse ones for the conditions.
Yeah, they obviously got a call for the wets, but also you got to remember that these tyres will start to wear. As a yellow go and picks up another 3-second time penalty, and Jitto picks up one himself.
And Zydrad's looking a bit quicker in the wet here than his good friend Crispy. Crispy is in these worsening conditions, struggling quite a bit compared to Zydrad. He's dropped off a bit from Dylan as Crispy, so maybe Zydrad is going to be thinking about the move.
Just keep an eye on the gaps. It looks like possibly the wets are starting to just come in.
It's right on the crossover still, but if it is going to dry out like we think it is, then
yeah,
it's potentially a bit of a waste.
He's just closed in by... Well, he hasn't actually. He's lapping basically the same as what Midzi is out front. And we will see. But like you say, I think it is possibly the wrong call to go onto the wets, especially as they're not that much faster than intermediates at the moment. If they were a few seconds a lap faster, then it would make sense. But it just doesn't seem like it's coming towards the guys on the wets at the moment. There's Midzi at the moment. 2.4 is the gap out front. And make that 2.2, 2.3. And it's just interchanging as they go through each corner. Zydrad's still behind Crispy at the moment. And he's probably sick of seeing these McLarens because he's got one ahead of him and one behind him for the majority of this race so far.
Indeed,
22.6 is the gap. It was 23 seconds last lap. Have a look. Ooh, a little bit of a poor exit from Zydrad as Beast picks up a 3-second time penalty, but he's down in 16th place. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it was the right call, but Riggs is on... not Riggs. V2 is on the back of Riggs, I should say, for 8th place as it currently stands. And, well, when do these drivers actually pit for another set of tyres? Because certainly not drying out soon. As it's still raining quite a bit, but yeah, it looks like the wet tyre choice was the wrong tyre to be on. Well, it looks like it is the wrong tyre to be on. Maybe they are a little bit faster, but They're not significantly faster, which is the issue for those drivers on the wet. And Beast comes into the pits. Might be for the Inters. Yes, it is. So I think that says a lot about what tyre you need to be on right now.
I think it's dried up again. It's definitely looking a lot lighter this rain, and yeah, that short, very very short downpour, I guess you could say, as it's massively caught Bezzers out and basically put him out of contention for the race win. He's not only going to have lost that time for that first pit stop, but he's going to have to make another one to go back onto the intermediate tyres. Likewise with Jib Jab, Ghost Colt, Jitto, Arbon and Alfie. And of course Beast, who's just pitted onto those Inters.
Yeah, that's a shame for Bezzers, but the closest battle at the moment is still Zyred and Crispy, and V2 and Riggs. But it just shows when it rains, it's a very tough to overtake without the use of a DRS being available. As Zyred just lost a bit of time through the first sector. Gap out front, 3.7 seconds now. And Mitzi is really excelling in this race, but as you say, it's supposed to dry out, so we might see some late action as Zyred picks up another 3-second time penalty.
I have to be honest, it's not really been a classic so far, this race, after Midzi got past Dylan.
No.
But I
Hopefully
think
it's a slow
it could
burner.
actually be a slow burner, exactly. If it does the extra bit of a downpour on, for drivers to think about going onto the wets, it didn't phase most of the top runners, so they've navigated through that, and it's just about now whether will their Inters die. And
Race Roller's in to the pits, so he's going to go for a fresh set of Inters, and whereabouts will he come out?
Going by where he was, I can only assume that he's going to come out
should be ahead of Riggs.
A little ahead of Bezzers. As Midzi picks up a time penalty, so
it should be. He's close to behind V2. So just behind V2. So that would mean if Midzi pit, he would also come out. But as you say, Midzi picked up a time penalty, so that's going to go in Race Roller's favour. But what not is in Race Roller's favour at the moment is the fact that he's behind this battle for P7 as it is now on track. But he does have the fresh intermediates.
I don't know how he's not put that in the wall. I do not know how he has not put that in the wall. That is an unbelievable save from Race Roller. And come the end of it, we could potentially say that that is the save that has saved his race win if these drivers all have to pit onto a set of intermediate tyres. And of course he can stay within that 3 seconds of Midzi.
Yeah, that was a heart-in-mouth moment for our championship leader. And the first to go into the pits. Midzi stays out, Dylan stays out, and Para Quicks comes into the pit lane then. And V2 and Riggs ahead carry on. So Para's had enough of these Inters. And let's have a look at the conditions. It looks like, it's a lot drier than it was before.
Drying a bit, but maybe they were perhaps fearing they were going to get close to puncture territory and kind of took the stop out of just pure safety. Yeah,
Para is ahead of Jib Jab crucially for him. So he has a bit of clear air for Bezzers ahead. Bezzers still on the wet tyres, interestingly. They're going to start to overheat, unfortunately for him.
But it's still bizarre. He's not losing that much time. I'd have thought he'd have lost a bit more. I mean,
yeah, I would have.
Is this another game glitch and he's actually on the fresh set of intermediate tyres, or are his tyres starting to overheat now? I mean, I really don't know.
You'd expect his tyres to start overheating. Midzi carries on once again, and so does Dylan. Let's have a look on the map, and Crispy Zydrad still carrying on. The two Alpines.
Ham's also a pretty dark horse as well in this race, as he also has no penalties. As is his teammate Riggs.
Riggs from 18th. If he carries on and does not get into puncture territory.
I tell you what. Not a million miles away from my quote of anything can happen, Riggs could win this race at the start of this race.
Zydrad picks up another penalty. That's really not going to help him.
9 seconds, I think, now for Zydrad.
And Race Roller still behind. Riggs and V2 could see his teammate jump him in the end. Obviously, with the penalty, might not matter in the end. But this is going to lose him valuable time. As I say that, the commentator's going to strike again. That is also going
to lose him valuable time.
Race Roller picks up a 3-second time penalty, and I think that might just be frustration a little bit, and a bit of bit of everything really, as Bez's tyres really are starting to overheat. Because Paraquix is right behind him now, and Bez's is 6.3 seconds and rising behind Race Roller. And here comes Para. He's going to go for a lunge at the hairpin. Might as well have a go. He does have a go. It's a very nice move indeed from Paraquix up the inside, and that is P9. And now he's going to set his sights on and charge on Race Roller, while they get held up by Riggs and while Race Roller gets held up by Riggs and V2, as everybody still carries on, and the track is still the same as it was a couple of laps ago. How far can these inters go? As V2 has a little bit of a rear lock up down into turn 1, puts him out of shape through turn 2, and it is this Race Roller's chance to go up the inside. He's going to stick his nose up the inside, and I think he's going to get the position, and he's up into P7. He stays ahead and gets ahead of V2 crucially for this race, and that is a nice move from Race Rollers. Ghost Colt sets the fastest lap all the way down in P12.
The new intermediate's obviously working well. And I mean, that's probably the kind of pace that Race Roller would have had if he'd not have been stuck behind V2 and Riggs. But I mean, all this stop has done is kind of, it's given Midzi a little bit of a buffer of if he does need to come in the pits and get changed onto a
Midzi's in. Midzi has come into the pits.
Then he will be able to come out ahead of Race Roller.
Dylan stays out. Crispy pits. Zydrad pits. Crispy speeds into the pit lane.
It did look like, to be honest, he was coming in a bit too hot.
Riggs will have
he
to
has
stay
a 5
out.
second penalty.
And let's have a look on board then. Where is
Riggs
Midzi?
is in the podium places, and he's the highest driver without a penalty.
Paraquix with the fastest lap of this race. He's going to try and come out ahead of his teammate.
They're going to go side by side.
Ooh, no, Para is ahead. So Para
he has made that undercut work brilliantly.
Yeah, Para's done wonders on the new fresh intermediate and has caught Crispy and Zydrad napping. Para also does not have a time penalty and is starting to close in on the drivers ahead of him. Arben sets the fastest lap, so the track is improving, and it's starting to get a little bit drier now as well. People not coming off those old tyres, and Midzi 9.3 seconds off the lead of this race. What can Riggs do, really? I don't know how bad his tyres are doing, but we'll look on board with Race Roller.
Dylan's are as well. Dylan is definitely risking it to try and take it to a potential dry period here.
Yeah, he's still carrying on. Riggs might think, I've got nothing to lose. But will he come into the pits? No, he carries on. And he's just going to try and nurse these tyres. He doesn't have a penalty to his name. Can Race Roller get anywhere near to him? He sets a personal best, 19.8. But with Paraquix behind, who set a 18 on the previous lap, that's not that quick at all. So the lap times behind Riggs are not very quick, and you can see the gap ahead increasing as it keeps going on and on. And will we ever get to try running at this point? Who knows? Maybe that extra bit of heavy rain has extended the wet period a little bit longer. But Race Roller, the two Scots, are trying to fight it out for what may be a podium finish at the end of this race. But Para is certainly carrying Crispy and Zydrad along at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Midzi has opened up. Midzi is gradually, well, quite considerably now eating into Dylan's lead, but I think Dylan is just going to be just
Here
hoping
comes
and
Race
praying,
Roller Sim.
counting down.
Is he going to go? Ooh, I think he's gonna go for a lunge. Puts Riggs offline, and Riggs picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's all out of shape on the exit, and it looks like this is going to be Race Roller's time. He's forced him off wide, and he forced him offline. Race Roller up the inside, and he's up into third place. And Riggs is going to try and fight back on the old tyres, but Riggs also now has a time penalty, so the highest running driver at the moment is Para without a penalty.
Yeah, Ham is still doing pretty well to hang in there without a penalty himself as well. But yeah, Dylan at the moment, he's, as it stands, potentially even going to drop behind Para if he's not careful. If he does have to pit, and well, the issue is that Alfie has not yet joined back the session ahead of him, so he's got to have an AI to overtake. I have sent him a couple of invites, but
AI's getting out of the way.
But his AI is thankfully
I hope Alfie didn't rage quit, but who knows at this point. When is this rain going to stop? It looks like it's going to stop soon, but I don't know how soon. We expect it to stop in the next.
It's kind of a just reasonably level, steady amount.
Yeah.
As I think Dylan here is. I seem to remember him saying that he reckoned he could take the Inters about 25, 26 laps the other day on them, and he's getting really close to that, it must be said, and his tyres must be very, very, very warm, Dylan.
Yeah. As Midzi sets a purple sector 1, and the gap is closing rapidly out front. And yeah, like I say, if Dylan came into the pits now, he would probably, as a Ghost Cart and Bezzers go side by side.
Because they're behind YOLO Gamer, who's stayed out on his old intermediates as well.
And Arbon retires in the pits. Another retirement in the pit lane. Zydrad picks up another penalty. But yeah, if Dylan pit now, he'd probably come out. Well, he would come out behind Zydrad. So, yeah, that's not. He's just gonna have to go for it at this point and hope the rain stops.
Indeed, unless he can somehow take his intermediates to the end of the race, which would be quite something. As in that last lap, Midzi closed in by 1.7 seconds on Dylan, and yeah, it's only a matter of time. As once again, hopefully Alfie's AI does not delete Midzi out of existence. That would be a real bummer to this race, as
it would.
He is approaching it at quite an awkward place, and
oh my god! Oh, he's still on the inside.
No! What is it doing?
What's going on?
As YOLO Gamer is out. YOLO Gamer has crashed, and there's a safety car.
It's a safety car, and that's really helped Dylan. What is Alfie's? Oh my god! Luckily for Midzi, this is gonna be an interesting finish to this race, because if it stops raining,
Para is
very
well
soon,
and truly in this race.
This
with
is
that lack
going to
of
be,
penalties.
Like you say, a slow burner, and YOLO Gamer crashing at the exit of the final chicane.
Thank you, YOLO Gamer. You have blessed this
and
race.
Might have just thrown this race up in the air completely, and now Dylan will. Well, he should just come into the pits, to be honest with you, because I mean, he should just concede the position, and he does. Very smart choice from Dylan. Slow it all down.
I wonder whether he's gonna. I mean, if it does dry up very, very shortly, boxing for drives might not be a horrendous shout. It sounds insane, but
yeah.
But if it is supposed to dry out, then this safety car, if you just have a few laps.
Oh, more drivers in the pits.
As Dylan, is he going to come out ahead of Race Roller or behind him? He's going to come out behind Race Roller.
Yep. There's Para in P4 as V2 has gone onto the softs.
As a Zydrad.
Zydrad's gone on to the soft. Ferrari boys have rolled the dice.
Is
And
this
they
a
think-
typical Ferrari strategy of
They've rolled the
that
dice.
is just completely just mental?
Is it going to stop
Or-
raining?
It could
And
potentially
Arbon-
stop during the safety car period. That
That's
is
what we're
worth
gonna hope.
considering.
It's going to be
Um,
freezing at the moment. Arbon in the chat said nowhere retired in the pits and the safety car comes out the next lap.
That's why you don't
Um,
retire in the pits, mate. I'm afraid. I've just got to put it straight to you. That's why.
No.
It's worth keeping going no matter what.
And this is not very good on board with V2 at the moment. But yeah, even Ham as well could be back. Oh my god, V2 can't even slow down for the corners at the moment. It's still raining, and it does need to stop for these drivers to have any chance of doing anything. Well, as I do these penalties, I don't think. Oh, that's not going to slow down for the hairpin. Yeah, it's definitely nowhere near dries at the moment. But yeah, Yola Gamer comes our 5th retirement, our first actual on-track retirement. Has caused a safety car, but safety car will stay out another lap, and yeah, we'll see. That is treacherous at the moment.
It is very treacherous, and well, if it dries pretty quickly, anyone can win this race. Literally anyone. The sun has slightly come out, but I think there is still a bit of drizzle. So, unless the safety car stays out for an additional extra lap,
I'm going
Those
to
on
make a bold prediction and
dries are
say
not going to do well.
that. I don't know bullshit. I'm going to say that we will have a repeat winner. It's going to be my prediction.
That's not a particularly bold one, given
I
that
was
the
going to say
effective
when
top
I said
three at the
bold,
moment are repeat.
but
And one thing I will
scratched that
add to
completely,
this, Midzi overtook Alfie's AI at the perfect time because it's kind of going to act as a weapon against the other
Yes.
drivers potentially. We don't like to see that, but as Beast is the third driver to put on a set of softs and kind of risk an all or nothing Hail Mary decision.
I've been on board with V2 for the majority of this, and eventually he's caught up to the safety car, Q, and it's not really got any better,
I honestly
to be honest.
beg it stops raining in the middle of this lap because
Safety
that
car
would-
should be in at the end of next lap, I would think, providing Beast can catch up. But yeah, this punches the field back up. Obviously, we have Alfie third on the road, no, second on the road, sorry, after Dylan pit. So yeah, this might help Midseat out. But if it dries up, then who knows? But it doesn't look like it's going to dry up at any time soon. So we might have a treacherous last couple of laps here. But
Can someone
don't go
contact
away.
Alfie to try and get back in the session, even if it is to just retire his car, because I don't want race rollers and Dylan's races spoiled by an AI. I mean, annoyingly, like if AI that were out of the session just ghosted, then we wouldn't have this issue. But they obviously do.
The
And
safety car
the
carries
potential
on.
problem.
No, it doesn't. Safety car is in this lap. So Beast has still got a long way to go, but it is still raining. So the dries are not the tyre to be on at this current moment. But Midzi will slow the pack down, weave around, and as the track is really starting to, well, it looks like it's starting to dry up, but it's still raining. When will he go?
Midzi could get a real jump on them because he's got to just take the restart better than the AI, and it'll be looking good.
Here we go. On the final chicane, and it looks like he is off and running. So then, we are restarting this race as we go on to lap 29. As Alfie's AI does get out of the way. Ghost Colt and V2 going side by side. Oh, as that looks like Paris getting caught up behind the back of Alfie's disconnected Mercedes, and they're going to be side by side with the two McLarens, as V2 and Zydrad are really struggling on the soft compound tyres at the moment. There's a yellow flag.
Oh! I think
Alfie.
Zydrad's hit the AI, but I mean he's on the dry tyres anyway, so... As it has stopped raining. It's stopped raining now.
Stopped raining now, but it's not really turning on for these drivers at all. By the looks of it, they're still struggling.
They kind of need to match their pace within the next lap or two, I think, because at the moment, of course, they will still come out ahead of everyone who has to pit onto these dries, but a lap or two more and they will lose that pit stop. A pit stop, obviously, in about 15 seconds. This is really interesting. V2 and Zydrad are not out of this race. If the next lap
They're all
is...
going to carry on. Oh, it's a double stack down at Alpine. And
they are flooded.
Ham, maybe, just maybe, Ham might sneak a victory here with the courtesy of not having any penalties.
But he's behind V2 and Zydrad. He's way behind V2 and
true,
Zydrad.
He's way
because
behind them. We have a look here. Can Ham find some pace at the end here, as Alfie's AI has gone on to the mediums, interestingly.
That is showing that it is ready. But I mean, as I said, this is
going to be
what V2 Zydrad Beast were hoping for. Beast was literally nowhere, and at the moment he is going to be an effective P3 once the others pit.
Look at Zydrad all over the back. Look at V2 all over the back. It's going to be very close between the two
Dries
Ferraris.
are now quicker. Dries are now quicker. So this gamble has worked. We said it wouldn't, but look at it.
Absolutely nowhere. The race is turned on his head. Look at Jib Jab. Jib Jab's all over the place, and Zydrad's going to take full advantage here of his teammate getting stuck behind. They're almost going to be free wide. Always be a contact between Jib Jab and V2, but Zydrad takes two positions in one and pulls the rabbit out of the hat.
They have to pit. They're going to have to pit.
They're going to have to pit. Got to pit in this race. And Midzi is in. Everybody's going to have to file into the pit lane. Everyone's flying in at the moment. And it looks like V2 and Zydrad, the Ferraris, are going to be ahead. But Zydrad does have a lot of penalties to his name, and maybe, just maybe, he'll be ruining getting all those penalties. But we'll have to wait and see. Sets the
fastest lap of the race from Zydrad. Midzi's gone onto the mediums. He's going to be a lot slower.
Oh, Midzi's
as
onto
Dylan's
the
had to
mediums.
double stack behind Race Roller.
Almost the reverse from real life. Well, it is the reverse from real life. As Riggs picks up another time penalty, but he's all the way down in 13th and will start to gain a couple of positions. DRS is now enabled. Zydrad leads.
This is absolutely crazy.
Ham currently in P5, the lead driver without a penalty to his name, and will start to catch these drivers ahead of him. But as Jib Jab picks up a time penalty, what could do? Bezzers, remember, pitted for the wet tyres and currently is set to get a handful of points, being behind drivers with penalties.
I just want to bear in mind something. Ham is 6 seconds ahead of effective race leader V2X Combat. V2 has 6 seconds of penalties. It is going literally completely down to the wire here. Completely down to the wire. The Ferrari boys, they look like idiots, but then one lap later they've looked like geniuses. It's completely flipped on its head.
Completely flipped on its head, and I said we would have a repeat winner, and I might have just thrown out the biggest commentator's curse that ever existed, as the rain just stopped right after the safety car came in within the first sector. Ham sets the fastest lap, but the times will start to tumble from everybody behind, and it is so narrow. 6 seconds it is the gap that it needs to be under for V2. And Midzi has 3 seconds as well, so Ham could end up winning this race.
Ham could
I don't
win this.
know, but we've got 3.5 laps to go for our race leader Zydrad, who has at least 9 seconds. So he will have to find some inhumane pace as Dylan picks up another 3-second time penalty, and he is outside the points.
Midzi is now coming up to the back of Beast, and this is the issue here. This is the issue here. Could potentially lose that little crucial bit of time, as every second counts.
Midzi down the inside.
What a move from Midzi's.
Midzi's absolutely
no holds barred at all.
And
there is
he is absolutely flying at the moment. And it is still very close between Ham and V2. V2 really desperately needs to have that DRS from Zydrad, and Zydrad's got very decent pace out front. Zydrad, Ham picks up a 3-second time penalty. So I still don't know who's going to win this race, to be honest, because it looks like maybe Mitzi, but Mitzi needs to get 3 seconds.
He can still close into V2. He can still do it.
He needs to be very
3 seconds behind him. If you put on the intervals, he is 3.5, and
as Beast picks up another time penalty, and this is still far from over in this race, as Mitzi is starting to close. Can Mitzi take an unlikely victory from what it seemed to be about 3 laps ago, and currently is closing down V2 and the Ferrari. Desperately needs to find some pace.
And now Para's there on no penalties as well. Para could jump up a few positions here.
Yeah, he needs to try. Here comes Ham on the back. Oh, Ham hits the back of Beast. And yeah, he's going to have the DRS.
It a bit.
He's misjudged it a little bit. Crispy picks up another 3-second time penalty. It looks
and Beast isn't fighting this. He knows that he needs to just maximise his race speed as V2 picks up another penalty.
V2 picks up penalty.
So 9 seconds of penalties. So
Mitzi currently is going to take this race. It takes the fastest lap as well, and well, barring any sort of 3-second penalty, as Para picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. So everybody still in this race has picked up a 3-second time penalty.
Mitzi can still pick up a penalty himself, of course. Ham is not out of this race win. He needs to stay within that 3 seconds to have a shot.
Keep your eyes peeled. This is a grandstand finish. It was a slow burner, and it's just come alive in the last 6 or 7 laps of this race. Mitzi is catching V2 still, and has 3 seconds to his name, and just needs to keep it on track. But crucially, he's about 3 seconds clear of Ham behind, and so it looks like on the medium tyres, we were surprised that he went onto the mediums, but as Para gets past Beast, or tries to get past Beast, around the outside of the hairpin, and has got the move done in the end, it looks like the mediums was the right choice, but he needs to just keep it on the road at the moment, as our race leader
entering the last lap
starts.
And I mean, I know lap. Penalties or not, Zydrad is going to be absolutely loving being in this P1 as he picks up another penalty.
As he picks up another penalty, he's going to drop another position. Loads of penalties, though. So we have to wait until the checkered flag. And obviously, this will be unofficial because there could have been... Well, we have to see with the stewards room. Obviously, I don't think there was anything in the Dylan and Mitzi contact in the opening few laps. But Mitzi's set to take... the victory, and
I think he is now safe from a penalty from Ham, just about, although it's so close.
His car off, Jib Jab has gone off, but here we go into the final sector then, and everybody's absolutely flying round. Zydrad, well, he will take the win on track, which he will dearly love, but what he won't love is the fact that he's got a lot of penalties to his name. It will be a Ferrari 1-2 across the road, but it's going to be, for the first time this season, our first repeat winner as we come across the line now.
As Para's just got Ham. Para's just got Ham at the end as well.
V2 comes second. Mitzi will jump to... yeah, so I don't actually know what the end result. So
well, I mean, I can give some radio coverage of the results. Midzy 15 is your race winner, followed by Paraquix, who, whilst the stream disconnected, got FRA Ham 19 on the line. V2X Combat came home in P4 after his penalties, with Ghost Cult in P5 due to having 3 seconds of pens. Zydrad dropped all the way down to P6, with Race Roller in P7. Beast in P8, Jitto in P9, and Bezos around point behind their teammates in the pits. And wow, what an ending to the race. Put your driver of the day votes in the chat. Unfortunately, we can't
Yeah, sorry about that.
see it, but
There's not much.
but anyway, I've taken a picture of the results, so I'll send that in to.
Yeah, sorry, the stream just blew up. It was getting so excited, and then yeah. So obviously get the top 3 in. I can't believe that's actually crashed right at the end there. That is
Yep. So we've got
typical.
Midzi, obviously, Para, obviously, and first podium of the season for Ham. We will still be able to have the interviews, thankfully. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess I'll do first and third. You do second, maybe. Or actually, unless you want to do it the other way around, because.
Do you know what? You can do them all if you like, because I'm a bit tired from that.
Fair enough. Midzi in, and hopefully we can get Midzi in soon. There we are. Well, hey.
Is still connecting in the way. No.
Yes, let's try again for Ham.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully.
Yep, I can see his name properly, and hopefully we can hear him.
I'll let you get underway.
So yeah, make sure you've all ticked your boxes, and we'll get on with the interviews. And starting with third place, hopefully you're in the party and you can hear everyone, Ham. Well, it's your first podium of the season. Talk us through that one. Potentially could have been slightly more, but with that chaos again to the race, kind of mirroring the chaos in real life earlier on today, you've got to be happy with that one. Yeah, I mean, and how do you feel? Obviously, like the start to the season, obviously the transition, as you mentioned, not been ideal.
By the way,
yes.
Someone has said they can't hear them.
Oh.
So.
Untick and tick again.
Yeah,
Really.
I don't know. Maybe it's because the stream blew up at the end. Yeah, I don't know. So that might not be.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. It was very close at the end, and I bottled my podium almost by getting the penalty, but I got lucky. I got by hand very fast. So in the rain, I felt very comfortable as well, but I got past Crispy and Side Red by doing the undercut, and then in the end with the pit stops, I think me and Crispy actually shafted the Red Bull boys by doing a double stack in front of them, so I had to wait. But yeah, good race. I liked it. To be honest, during safety car, I was thinking every lap, should I box or not? Should I box or not? And then when it ended, I kind of wanted to box, but I saw that we had a little bit of pace advantage at the start. So but then when I came through the chicane, it just changed to DRS enabled. So I was a bit too late. But yeah, still I had the pace in the end to catch back up. And with all the penalties the people in front got, I got quite lucky to get on the podium.
Um, yeah, I didn't expect that at all, to be honest. Quali couldn't have been much better. I absolutely nailed the lap pretty much. Well, I felt like I did. And then obviously helped having Bezos behind me at the start. Yeah, I just knew I had to try and get past him as quick as possible. So I felt like I had the pace over him in the wet, and I made a pretty decent move around the outside. And yeah, I just was trying to focus and not get pens. And then I thought the rain would stop earlier, but obviously it didn't. So pitted for the inters, and I thought Dylan got lucky with the safety car. But yeah, obviously once he pitted, couldn't really do much. He obviously was struggling again. And yeah, I mean I was quite surprised in the pipe reside, and he went onto the dries, I think, during the safety car, and I thought, no, there's no way. Especially how wet it was during the safety car. Then it obviously dried up pretty quick, and I thought that was potentially a race lost. But even so, I was quite happy in the position I was in. Saw Ham behind me, he didn't have a pen, and I didn't have any fresh softs, so I went onto the mediums, and I felt better on the mediums anyway. And yeah, it just worked out. I was quite consistent for a change. So yeah, happy to be honest. I've never done this well in Canada here, I don't think. So yeah, really happy. And obviously well done to Ham as well. Raced for ages, but yeah, I know he's sticking to no line. Obviously, he got a bit fortunate. I think the safety car and everything that happened, but he's made the right calls, kept consistent, and yeah, got a podium. So well done to him. Yeah, quite. Quite happy to be honest. Because I didn't expect nothing like this in Canada. I think it's just felt good last week. Feel like me and Crispy were quite standout on pace last week. So I could say it's made up for last week in a way. But yeah, I'm just really happy. Like not even to be leading the championship, just for to get a result like this at one of the worst tracks.
Clicked a load of wrong buttons anyway. Yes, well done. Good. Yes, and let's wrap up the stream because I've clicked a load of random buttons on the party, and I don't know what I've done.
You're got some. Your brain is starting to fail at the moment there. But yeah, Thanks for everyone for watching. Obviously, a bit of a poor end for the stream crashing, so apologies about that. But yeah, as you see, Midzi becomes our first repeat winner of the season and retakes the championship, or does take the championship lead. I can't remember who was in the lead before, but it's been a topsy-turvy season already. Be sure to rejoin us again next time when I believe it is France. Is France? I can't remember. But yeah, be sure to tune in for all our division races then, and I'm sure it will be another week of high action. And that will be all from us, and good night.